Now, what works for me is there are certain conditions that really naturally bring out meditation for me. And I have found that those conditions are, number one, a certain period of time in the morning before my mind becomes preoccupied with my responsibilities in the world, and then a certain period of time in the evening. Now, I have recognized that there's a biorhythm that is conducive to doing spiritual practice, and I suggest that everybody consider this. Everybody consider what is your best time of day to do something. Not what to do, but when to do something. Now, I have also found that one of the things that is very helpful is, understanding the balance between tension and relaxation physically. Now, if we understand these two things about the time of day that we are naturally inclined to do practice and how to do practice physically, then that makes it a lot easier to actually get into a daily flow with it. So what that means is that in the morning, what is naturally conducive for me to meditate is to do it lying down while I am still very relaxed, but I'm awake. And I can usually get an hour of pretty deep meditation in before I get up because I'm awake enough. But I'm also, kind of going in and out of sleep. And then at a certain point, it's just like time to get up. Okay. But at night, it is better for me to sit up and stay sitting up and to exert some physical energy to sit up, because otherwise I will fall asleep and that's the end of the day. And so therefore, I have discovered that these two biorhythms of morning and evening and relaxed posture and alert posture, these are naturally conducive for meditation. Then during the day, what is naturally conducive for meditation are two primary things. One is movement. And so therefore, I do Qigong, short sessions, just stretching, get up, take a break from the computer work and stretch and breathe and a little bit of yoga posture. And 5 or 10 minutes, very healthy, energizing, relaxing to the mind. And sometimes I just take more time with that, and it might actually be, half hour, 45 minutes. And that's movement meditation. Now, why does movement meditation work better in the middle of the day? Well, because everything is moving. The mind is moving, physiology is moving. There's, caffeine in my system. I'm thinking, I've got projects, I've got responsibilities, deadlines, meetings, sanghas, all these kind of things. And so there's movement. And so what's more conducive to meditation is just to keep going in that movement. And then the other thing, finally, that is most conducive of all, and that is time in nature. And this has always been the case for me. And I have a great quote from Milarepa that has been a guiding teaching for me, and that is, samadhi deepens naturally in the wilderness. And this was his great contribution to meditation practice, was he lived in solitude in the wilderness, and he showed what could be done. And I have found actually that just spending time outside will induce meditative states for me. Now, that's relatively easy because I spend some time engaging in meditation practice every day. And so if I go and sit somewhere in the forest and I'm listening to the sound of water or listening to the sound of the wind in the trees, it's very easy to enter into a meditative state. And so the container then is nature. Now, I'm sharing this because the question is, how do we find what works? And for me, I have found that these parameters are very conducive for whatever practice we want to do. These are the things that work for me. Biorhythm during the day, morning and evening, movement during the activity of the day, and time in nature. Okay, now, those are all pretty basic criteria that everybody has known about forever. And they're utilized in all traditions, just like that, the same. But then comes the question, what do I do in those periods of time? What practice do I actually do? And this is, again, all I can share is what works for me. What works for me is body-based. But body-based is an opening into infinite kinds of practices. And therefore, I have explored a lot and shared a lot with people about all kinds of things in the body, about the powers of the body and the deification of those powers in the body. And all of these kinds of things actually reveal themselves if we can just stay with one thing. It will start to teach us all kinds of things. And that's the answer to your question. What should I do? What works for me? And the answer is very simple, and that is the role of the teacher is to give the practice, and then the practice becomes the teacher. Now, when you get to the point where your practice is teaching you, then you don't have to rely on these systems from different cultures that say you must do this. Okay, and here's where we can separate external cultural dogmas from that which is natural, organic meditation for ourselves. So what we really want to get to is we want to come to the source of inspiration where we are enjoying our practice so deeply that we consider the outer world, what would we like to call it? We consider it a distraction, and it is a distraction if our primary goal is to go more deeply. But that's not where most people are at. Okay, and it's not where I'm at, because if my primary goal was just go into these practices 24 hours a day, day after day, month after month, year after year, if that was my primary goal, that's what I would do. But that is not my primary goal. My primary goal is to go into these practices repeatedly and learn from them, experience their benefits, learn something about myself, learn something about the body and the mind, and then bring it back and share it with people. And at some point, you know, this archetype of the recluse, the archetype of the wilderness yogi, that has always been there in my mind, probably a past life thing, but it is always there as something that I feel I have not explored enough. But at the same time, I'm very pragmatic about this. And I also understand that you can't just force yourself to do things that are not your natural propensities. It is not my natural propensity at this point to sit in full lotus in the mountains day after day after day. I would start to get really creative. I could write a book doing it, but I would also get really restless because it goes against another part of me, you see. And that's what's complicated about this, how we have to integrate this into our own psychology, because another part of me is very fulfilled with right livelihood. And so therefore we have to say there's meditation and then there's right livelihood. And I'm very fortunate because I have found a balance between meditation and right livelihood. Now, this is where it gets really confusing culturally, because there are so many dogmatic things that are told to us about how you got to do it this way and you got to do it that way. And this is what we have to figure out for ourselves. So I love teaching and I love writing and I love meditating. These are the things I love. And I love studying and learning, and I love introspection in what I have done. And I think this is the goal more than what do we do with meditation. I think the goal is how much can we actually become fulfilled in all of the areas of life that we are good at, that we are meant to contribute to society. And in that sense, meditation is not dogmatic. It is a support for us to express everything else. Therefore, if you have a meditation practice and it's just calling you and it's just saying, come deeper and deeper into this relationship where you're starting to have these mystical experiences. And, this happens to me. And I just feel like, I feel like God is calling me, like nature wants my attention. It wants me to be present more. I feel these things. And if that calling is really, really strong, we should follow through on it. But the complexity is that most people have other callings, you see. And that's something that humans have always had to balance.